Welcome to the Balance Nest podcast. I'm Anna Marie, mama, energy worker, human design nerd, and firm believer that most of what's happening in your family is connected to what's happening underneath the surface. So grab your coffee and let's dig in. So, here's something not a lot of people know about me. I originally wanted to be a coroner, like genuinely, not in a morbid way. Well, maybe in a little morbid way, but mostly because I was fascinated by the human body and what it holds and the stories it tells. And then I found out you have to go to full medical school first. You have to do residency. You have to spend years dealing with the live sick people in the hospitals before you ever get to the dead ones. And and that was an absolutely not for me. Hard pass. Um that is not what I wanted to sign up for. Which probably tells you something important about me right from the start. I have always been more interested in the deeper story than the surface presentation. I have always wanted to understand what's actually happening underneath the surface. I just thought for a while that meant pathology reports, and it turns out it meant energy work. Here's the thing. I've understood more clearly as I've gotten older. People in Western medicine hospitals are often there reluctantly. They want someone to fix them. They want the pill, the procedure, the thing that makes it stop. They're not necessarily there because they want to understand what created the condition. And they're not necessarily there because they want to change anything fundamental about how they're living. And I understand that. Don't get me wrong. I understand that pain is real and sometimes you just need it to stop. But that is definitely not where I felt called. And what I wanted was to work with people who were actually ready, who had tried the other things and knew something was still missing, who were knocking on a different kind of door. So how I actually got into this work. I was in outside sales, which is maybe the furthest thing from energy healing you can imagine. And I kept feeling this pull towards something I couldn't name yet. And then somehow I found John and Anna Chitty, and they teach biodynamic craniosacral therapy. And as I started researching just different body work modalities, I found them because it just seemed deeper, like on a more energetic level. And being in sales, I just cold called him. Hi, I'm Anna Marie. I'm in outside sales. Can I come to your class? No joke. That is the conversation I had with John Chitty. And he said, yes, of course. And I was a little stunned, that I didn't need any kind of background to get into this class. And once I was in there, I figured out why. Because you go through all the work while you're in there, all the therapy. You don't learn it by just learning it. You learn it by practicing it and going through all of it. And that phone call changed everything. My girls were 1 and 3 when I started school. We had just moved into a new house. It was absolute chaos. And I don't know what I was thinking to start a training program at that point in life. And I did it anyway, because that's what I was pulled to do. Something in me knew that this is the path that I needed to go down. I learned biodynamic craniosacral therapy. In there was polarity therapy, somatic therapy, and then over the years I kept going. Emotion code, human design, nonviolent communication, Reiki. Though honestly, Reiki and I have a complicated relationship. It's not my jam. And what I found working through all of these modalities is that they're all pointing at the same thing from different angles. The body holds what the mind can't process. Energy gets stuck. And until you actually move the stuck energy, not just understand it intellectually, not just talk about it, it stays stuck. Ta- Sorry, I giggle because this is going to piss some people off. Talk therapy, in my experience, helps people understand their patterns. And understanding is valuable, but understanding something and releasing the energy around it are two completely different things. You can have perfect insight into why you do something and still be completely unable to stop doing it. So I'm not a fan of talk therapy. It's good for a little while to understand something, but you need something more. Your brain doesn't control your entire existence. So these insights live in your head, but the patterns live in your body. And that's where I come in. So here's the thing about how I work that's probably different from most practitioners. I don't have one method. I work very intuitively at this point in my practice, meaning that I read what your system needs in the moment and pull from whatever is going to serve it best. So sometimes that's biodynamic craniosacral therapy, which is working with the body's own rhythms to create deep settling in the nervous system. Sometimes it's emotion code, where I am identifying and releasing specific trapped emotions that are stored energetically in the body. And sometimes it's a method that I've developed myself over the years, which I tentatively am calling energetic pendulation therapy, where I'm walking you through parts of your body like it's a museum, describing what you see and feel on each side and letting the body find its own equilibrium through that pendulation. I also mix somatics into literally everything because the body is always in the room and it's always telling us something. What I've found that all of these have in common is the same underlying philosophy. I'm not directing your healing. I'm not analyzing what's wrong. I'm creating the conditions for your own system to do what it already knows how to do, which is heal. And it can heal when it has enough space and safety to do so. So not only do I hold space for you to heal, what I really do is hold space for your soul to take a breath, for your soul to have its own time to sort out its own issues. And I think that distinction matters enormously to me. That led me down the path to this parenting work. When I became a mom and all of my own stored stuff came rushing to the surface, which is what happens in parenthood, it's the world's most effective trigger. I realized that the most powerful thing I could do for my kids was do my own work. And the most powerful thing I could do for other families was help parents understand themselves and their kids well enough to break the patterns instead of passing them on. So that's the mission. That's what the Balanced Nest is. And that's why I'm here. So if any of this resonates with you, if you're one of the people who already knew there was a different kind of door, come join us in the Balanced Nest community on School. You can message me, comment, connect below, and I'll send you the link. They're probably in all the links everywhere else too. And if you're curious, you can run your free human design chart at balancednest.com. Your family is worth the work. I'll see you in the next one.